Hey everybody, welcome to episode 42, week 42 of the Hey Everybody podcast. And just how the heck are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. We had a great weekend, but for one thing that put me in such a rage that I'm opening the podcast with it, here's what happened. So, backstory. There is a little known sketch show that airs very late at night called Saturday Night Live. Perhaps you've heard of it. It airs on Saturdays at night. It's live. There is a sketch from that show featuring an actor named Casey Affleck, and the sketch takes place at a Dunkin Donuts. If I remember, I'll put a link in the down here in the description. In the down here. And it's one of my favorite comedy things I've ever seen. Our whole family, me, Tori, and Ollie, we love it. We quote it all the time. Like I said, it takes place at a Dunkin Donuts. So anytime we pass a Dunkin Donuts, one or all three of us will just launch into various quotes from this sketch, if not just the whole sketch. Cut to. Saturday was Oliver's 12th birthday. My son, my only child, my boy. And we're driving around, getting into various shenanigans. We found a waterfall. We listened to a record that he got for his birthday. It was a good time. Suddenly, I find myself in need of coffee, as I so often do. Fortunately, it's the future now, and you can just get coffee almost anywhere. And many of these places have drive-thrus, which is handy if you happen to be living through your 14th or 15th month of a pandemic that other countries have gotten a handle on a year ago. So we see a Dunkin Donuts, and we get so excited. We go, let's go to Dunkin Donuts. And we start doing the bit. We're going back and forth, all three of us. We're so excited. Dunkin Donuts. Because also, there may not be a better flavor combination under the sun than a donut and some black coffee. I love it. I love it. And I love that it's not too classy. Because so many things nowadays, it's good, and then you try to add some kind of rare mushroom reduction, aioli, to it, and you lose me. Like, I'll just have the burger, whatever. So Dunkin Donuts is perfect. It's going to be good, but not too good. But our expectations are right where they should be. I'm going to get myself a black coffee and a donut. We're going to continue celebrating my son's birthday. It's going to be glorious. It's also worth noting that though many of these places have changed their name to just Dunkin', the one we were at was called Dunkin Donuts. It's up on the sign right there, as if to say, hey, are you looking for a donut and possibly some kind of liquid you could dunk it into? This is your place. Welcome home. We put it up on the sign, Dunkin Donuts. So we pull in the drive-thru, we order the coffee, and then we say, and what kind of donuts do you have? And from this speaker came this exasperated, this again tone of voice. And what she said to me that was seared into my memory forever, because it might be the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life. She says, and I'm not exaggerating, she says, actually, we're out of donuts. As if I had asked, what kind of sushi they had. As if I had asked some crazy question that, for some reason she gets a lot, but shouldn't. But no, they're just out of donuts. But you know what they did have? And this is where frustration turns to rage. They did have avocado toast. Because regular, everyday, lowbrow Joes like me, we can't just have our thing. I like Dunkin Donuts. Just keep it. Just freeze it in time right there. Like the Telecaster. Fender made the Telecaster in the 50s, and they made it perfectly. Just leave it. Don't touch it. Don't mess with it. Don't improve it. Don't augment it. Don't nothing. Just leave it there. I like it. But Dunkin' Donuts is out of donuts. But if you would like some avocado toast, we have plenty of that. And my other question is, on the Venn diagram of people that regularly eat avocado toast, and I'm not judging, my wife likes it. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, on the Venn diagram of I like avocado toast, I go to Dunkin' Donuts. They can't really overlap, if at all. Like, and the thing is, since then, I haven't gone to another place and gotten a donut. So now it's just stuck in my brain. And just the attitude, actually, we're out of donuts. Actually, a mild inconvenience is going to come your way, and you're going to hold on to it for 48 hours and then ruin your podcast. But I don't know how many people are watching this podcast, but you're all coming with me down this path. Terrible. I kid. We'll move on. But I do stand by that. Like, people that like nice things should have nice things. They should make nice things. They shouldn't take my regular, everyday, reliable, 5 out of 10 coffee and donut place and make it into their nice thing. Get your avocado toast out of my Dunkin' Donuts. But look at all like the ownership of it that I take. I've been to Dunkin' Donuts like 4 times in my whole life. It's just comforting. You drive down the road and you see it there and you know there's donuts and coffee in there. That's awesome. And just on the off chance, when I need it, it'll be there for me. And then I needed it and they let me down and it hurt. Other than that though, we had a great weekend celebrating the boy. He turned 12. That happened real fast. Some cliches are true. Time speeds up when you have a little one. Tori and I were talking about just how fast it's gone, and thinking back 12 years ago, how normal it seemed that like, oh, we're married and we have a kid and everything's great. But like us looking back now, the people that had Oliver were just kids themselves. You know, they were in their very, very, very early 20s. And very strange, the passage of time. But boy, oh boy, we love that kid. And he had a great birthday, and we got to see some family and celebrate him, and it was great. And it came at the end of a week where I was feeling just very kind of open and tender, and I was very aware of all my feelings, and they were all very positive, and I was sharing them, and I had some nice talks with Tori, and it was a great way to end the week. Like I said, we went and found a waterfall, and we hiked over to it, and it was nice. It was great, and I hope you had a good weekend too. I wrote a big thing about Oliver and about Tori and about just parenthood and love, and it's on my Facebook page if we're Facebook friends. If we're not, you know, I've been saving a lot of the stuff I've been writing, little essays and poems and even jokes, and I think maybe sometime I'll put out another book of like just a collection of stuff. Just like if Christopher Gold's brain was a paperback book, a large portion of it would look like this. The rest would be Simpsons quotes, King of the Hill quotes, and jokes I dare not repeat to people that watch the podcast. And pictures of guitars. One of the things that occurred to me last week when I was feeling this kind of openness and connectedness and wonderful stuff, which I try really hard to acknowledge, because things like anxiety and depression, they sort of demand your attention. And the other side of that coin, or those coins, is not as demanding and not as loud and doesn't put its feet up on the table and say, hey, over here. And I think we have to, we don't have to, but I think we'd be better served if we exerted a little more energy trying to grab and focus on, hey, I feel really good today. You don't often hear that. People will just come up to you and say like, "Hey, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling unfulfilled, or whatever." But I don't know how common it is for someone to go, "Man, can I just tell you how good I've been feeling, and how like connected to my family I've been feeling, and how satisfying playing music has been, and how relieved I am that my vocal rehab seems to be helping." And I'm trying to do that more, because I am very quick to tell the people around me, like, I feel sad, I feel angry, this person upset me. And I'm trying to be more deliberate about my positive feelings. All that to say, midway through my week of just feeling good, and it hasn't ended yet, last week I felt really good, I realized something about how I was viewing and labeling my life, and how I think we as people view and label things. And I have a tendency, and this might sound weird to some people, and I'm okay with that. I have a tendency to consider my life as a bit of a tragedy, or as a bit of a rough tale, a hard story, whatever, a bumpy road that I've gone down. And the reason is because there was a time where I feel like that was accurate, that was a true and honest way of looking at and labeling what was happening in my life. It wasn't a complete picture, but much the way, let's consider movies, because that's the easiest way to talk about it. There might be a couple jokes in a really good action movie, but it's an action movie. And there might be like a love story in a horror movie, but it is a horror movie. And I felt like the first period of my life, if you were going to file it away at a Blockbuster or whatever, which is where it belongs, it would have been, tragic or sad, or, certainly very dramatic. And I realized that I had carried that definition at times all the way up to 37. And I realized last week that it's not a proper definition anymore. It's not accurate anymore. And I started thinking about movies, and I started thinking about, if you bought a ticket to see an action movie, and in the first minute and a half, because this is the scale we're dealing with, the first minute and a half, you didn't get some epic fight scene, you wouldn't get up and leave and go like, this isn't an action movie. And I realized that the first part of my life, even if you want to call it the first, 20 years of my life, those years being hard or being whatever they were, this isn't really about what they were. That can be true and still be the beginning of a story, and sort of be almost the groundwork for a story that isn't about its own groundwork. It's about something bigger and better than that. And I realized that I was not paying enough attention to my current story that I was living in. This epic romantic comedy about a musician that I quite like. I realized I wasn't paying that much attention to it because I was obsessed with the opening credits. And I say all this in past tense as though I'm past it, and I'm not. I'm sure I'll struggle with this for a long time. But I started thinking about how we define stuff and how crucial it is to acknowledge what we know about the timeline and the outcome when we're defining something. And the most recent example I have of that is this. The COVID vaccine. It hurts. It's a needle in your arm. It's an inconvenience. It's a day off of work, a day you got to go down to the thing, you got to get in line, you got to go in there, they stab you in the arm. Maybe you get some side effects for 24 hours. You feel like you have the flu. Maybe for a day or two you feel like someone whacked you in the shoulder with a baseball bat. These are bad things. I mean, not tragic, life-altering, world-ending things, but if you have two columns, one good, one bad, everything I've said is bad. But we know the outcome and we know the timeline. We know it's just one day. We know these side effects. If you get the shot on Monday, your side effects will be gone by Wednesday. We know the outcome is my youngest brother came over last night and we were standing in the driveway talking, and he just casually mentions, "Oh, I'm fully vaccinated." And I went, "I'm fully vaccinated." And there was a pause, and then I hugged my brother for the first time in about 15 months. And I said, "Come inside." And we had a beer, and he played chess with my son, and me, him, and Tori sat and talked about music and guitars, and he stayed for a couple hours, and then we all hugged goodbye, and it was terrific. And it was because of all that bad stuff I just mentioned. It was because I took a whole day and went down to the place and waited in line, and they stabbed me in the arm, and then I got these side effects, and blah, 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 blah. But all of a sudden, all that bad stuff isn't bad stuff anymore, because it built along a timeline that I knew towards an outcome I was expecting, and the timeline was short and the outcome was good. And our lives are so much longer than that. And I think because we don't know the timeline of our lives and we can't really be assured of the outcome of our lives, it's hard for us to accurately label our lives or assign them a genre, if you will. Because you go, if you have a terrible childhood and you take that into your adulthood and you stay focused on it, it doesn't matter what the timeline's doing, and it doesn't matter the outcome that you're moving towards, because you're not really there. You're back there still, focused on the opening credits of your movie, or the first scene of your movie, the first act of your movie. And we do, we bring that stuff with us, for sure. I have no doubt that all of us have things from our childhood that will be with us in our old age. But to what degree? And how much control do we have over that? And does that element being present have to be what our movie's about and what our story's about? And I'm just realizing and deciding, no, it does not. Your tragedy can turn into an adventure movie or a romantic comedy, and can be all the better because, oh man, when it started, I thought it was going to be this whole other thing, and it ended up being this really uplifting, inspirational, inspiring thing. Inspirational and inspiring. How's that for? But that's what I've been thinking about. And it's what I've been working on. And I just looked around and I went, you have Tori, you have Oliver. You do what you want to do to varying degrees of success. But you do what you want to do. You write your songs and you play your songs for people. You're relatively healthy. You have food and a roof. You have guitars and records. And what is wrong? And I go, well, back then in the opening credits, this happened. And then you go, how long ago was that? And you go, coming up on 20 years. I was very excited to celebrate my wife's birthday a couple years ago, because she hit a milestone where I had officially known her half of her life. And I thought that was so cool. And it's just another way of realizing that, our lives are so much longer than we think. And it's complicated because they go by so much faster than we think. As I witnessed this weekend celebrating my son's 12th birthday, it went by in a blink. But if I pause and I look, I go, if I have to be honest, ups and downs, hard times, good times, those 12 years were good. My wife and I have been married, it would be 15 years in June. And if I'm honest, ups and downs, hard times, good times, easy times, tough times, but those 15 years have been good. And that's what I'm working on. I'm working on trusting the timeline and the outcome, even though I can't know it. And letting, the first act ends. And no movie lives or dies on its first act, whether it's good or bad. You might talk about it still. It might affect the way you see the movie. But imagine if someone reviewed a movie and you realize they're only reviewing the first 20 minutes of that movie. What's going on? Oh, I didn't stay. I didn't watch the other 90 minutes of that movie. And you're going, well, I don't really trust your view of it then. Or if someone reviewed a record because they heard the single, or they heard the very first song, or they heard the record before it. And you go like, you don't really have a comprehensive view of this thing that you're trying to explain to me or to label or to pick apart or describe. So that's where I'm at. And I don't know if there's anything in there for anybody else, but I think the way this podcast works is I just, I sit on this couch and I try to be honest with you guys and tell you the truth as I see it. And sometimes it's the truth for you too. So, let's do a song. Putting out a live record on Friday, April 30th, I believe. And this song is going to be on that record. And there's a story about it on the record, so I'm not going to tell you the story now, but I'll tell you about the live record. 5 years ago, we recorded an album, me and my band, called Whichever Way Home. And I love this record. It's the first record going back through my catalog. This is as far back as you can go where I'm still like, yeah, I hope you listen to that record. I love that record. Beyond that, it gets into like, well, we were young and I think, we performed a lot of the songs too fast, or I feel like hopefully I'm a better writer now, and if I had it to do all over again, I might not have put this song on there or that song on there, or maybe stylistically the record itself just sounds a little too flat, or the production or whatever. But this record 5 years ago, I'd sit and play it for you right now. I really love this record. I love the balance we hit of styles and of things we do. And there's kind of twangy country stuff. There's a folk song. There's a spacey song. There's a spaghetti western kind of song. There's a rock and roll song, I'm just really pleased with it. And the making of the record felt really good. It was a good time to be around the band and that kind of thing. And the year we had on that record, we had some great shows and a ton of fun. But to release that record, what we did is we invited, I think it was 75 people, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, into the studio where we recorded the record. And we set up in a circle, and we had all these people sitting around us, and we played the record front to back. We performed it for them in much the same way that we had recorded it, because we recorded it live in that same room. And that got recorded as well. And now, 5 years later, we're going to put out that record. It'll be on Bandcamp. If you go to christophergold.com, you'll find it. And this is the ballad from that record. The show's a lot of fun. It was a real treat to listen back to it when I was getting it ready to put out on Friday. And the band has changed a lot since then, both in sound and personnel and the way that it works and all this kind of stuff. But I'm really glad that we have that specific night captured, even though I did make a joke at the end that some people are not going to like. I'm prepared to defend myself. The joke is really about people jumping on a bandwagon. It's not about any specific artist or anything like that, but some people are going to be bothered. Hopefully, because it's towards the end, I will have won them over. But the live record is fun, and you get a lot of stories about the songs and then full band performances of them. So it's toe-tapping and rockin' and sweet and funny and intimate and nice. It comes out on Friday. I hope you check it out and enjoy it. And this record is just one of my favorites that we've made. I'm really proud of it still. And this song is called When I Was Born, I Fought a War. And there's a very sweet story about it that you'll hear on the record. So, here we go. When I was born, I fought a war. But my war is over. No more battles left to fight. No more hymns to be sung. I was born, I fought a war. Muscle, bone, and sinew, and the grief and grace and joy, they're all connected too. My war is over, and I'm coming home, though I know not where I come home to. My war is over, and I'm coming home, 'cause home for me is coming back to you. When I was born, I fought a war, but my war is over. No more soldiers need to die for the battle to be won. When I was born, I fought a war to find peace in this place, with the stale stench in the air hanging heavy in my lungs. Oh, my war is over, and I'm coming home, though I know not where I come home to. My war is over, and I'm coming home, 'cause home for me is coming back to you. 'Cause home for me is coming back to you. All right. That felt good. Let's do some recommendations, and then let's get you out of here. I got a fun variety of stuff today. First up, the Walkmen. This record is called Heaven. The Walkmen are no longer together, but in their time, in like the early 2000s to the 2000 teens, whatever we're calling that, they're a very influential indie rock band that at times could be really rowdy and aggressive in a way I really liked. And they did a lot of cool stuff with organs and things like that. And their guitar player is very inventive. Their drummer was rad. Their singer had a really, really unique, cool voice. I guess what I'm saying is they're a good band, and I like it. This was their final album. It's very family themed, as you'll see a picture of the band members with all their kids on the back. And it fits for the week I had and the weekend that we had together. So check out the song Heaven. It'll make you feel good. I can almost guarantee it. Up next, this band is called Explosions in the Sky. The record is called The Earth Is Not a Cold, Dead Place. And it's not, you know. They're an instrumental band. They're what you call a post-rock band. They can be ethereal, they can be big, they can be melodic, they can be uplifting, they can be sad. It's wonderful. One of the last big shows we saw before the whole world hiccuped the way that it did was Explosions in the Sky in Madison. And it was, I don't use the phrase lightly, it was mind-blowing. It changed the way that I thought about live music and what was possible with live music. I would try to describe it, but it wouldn't matter. If you ever get a chance to see them, please do. In the meantime, listen to a song called First Breath After Coma. I love that song. It's the first song on the record. And I spent about 6 months listening to that song once a day with my eyes closed. Just not quite meditating, but just I would take Ollie to school, and I would come home and I would put the record on, and I would just sit on the couch with my eyes closed, and I would start my day just letting that song happen. And it's great. Now, the next thing I have to recommend to you is kind of weird, but not really, but kind of. This book is by a gentleman named Rob Bell, and it is called Everything is Spiritual: Who We Are and What We're Doing Here. What's interesting about this book is that Rob Bell, by the broadest definition, is a pastor the Christian faith, which is a faith that I personally do not subscribe to. But Rob Bell is what you call a Christian mystic, and every religion has their mystics. And the mystics are people that are a little more loose with some of the rules and the expectations and the standards, and even the idea that this is definitely true. The mystics of most religions, as I understand it, tend to think this is a story that we tell to try to understand concepts that we might not have language for. And because of that, you don't need to be a Christian or a Muslim or whatever else to approach a mystic teaching or writing and get something out of it. Similarly, a lot of people really like a poet named Rumi, who is a Sufi mystic, which is a branch of Islam, which is yet another religion I don't subscribe to. I personally do not have a religion. I personally do not... I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody knows. I don't know what's up there. I don't know what's down there. I don't even know what's in here a lot of the time. But I had heard this guy talk, and I was intrigued by it. He found his way onto a couple podcasts I liked. And then the other thing I was intrigued by was how much Christians were mad at him. And I was like, well, I think I got to maybe learn about this guy who says things I like and is a Christian, but Christians don't like him. So Tori and I watched a thing, and we both really enjoyed it. And then she got me this book, and I really liked it. And it didn't save me. It didn't change the way I think about religion or the Bible or anything. But I will even tell you, like, when he, on the rare occasion that Rob Bell quotes the Bible, he refers to it as like Jewish poetry, which I quite liked. And he talks about so much in this book, and so much of it has very little to do with faith or spirituality or even, you know, God or anything. It's just about, like, why are we here, and how do we talk about why we're here, and all this kind of stuff. And I really liked it. I liked it enough that I wanted to tell you guys about it, even though it might be weird for some people to hear what you might label a non-believer recommending what you might label a Christian book, but I don't think any of the definitions here are all that clean. He says, the mystic has had the direct experience. The mystic knows personally. The mystic doesn't need an institution or a system or a dogma to tell them what they have already experienced. The mystic doesn't need an authority figure to validate what they know is true. I was never that interested in religion or that word Christianity. And this guy's a pastor, or was a pastor of a fairly large church. And, you know, he's also on that righteous and proper trip of what they call being gay affirming. There's a whole new movement of religious folks that are saying, I think we got this business about homosexuality wrong. And I think, you know, we're supposed to treat people better than we have been. And I like that. And I've been happy to see that come around, because I was raised in that world. Maybe we should talk about that longer someday. But I was raised in the church world, so it's a language I understand. And at the same time, it's a thing I've chosen to walk away from, and I've done it in a variety of ways. But that book spoke to me, and I wanted to recommend it to you on the off chance that it speaks to you too. And I don't think you have to believe any specific thing to get something out of that book. It's even affected the way Tori and I interact with each other. I read a thing in the book, and then I shared it with her, and we both have referenced it since, that we're working on it, and just talks about like how you love somebody and whether or not it is fair to expect someone you love to change, and what your role in that is. And it's just been really helpful. And I wouldn't want to keep something good and helpful to myself just because maybe there's some weirdness around what I just barely understand to be his belief system. Point is, it's good, and he's stirring the pot. and I think you'll like it. And the beautiful thing about truth is that you can find it a variety of places. And one of the things I've been really into, and I talked about this with the Matthew McConaughey book too, is that it's an interesting experience to go to a source that you wouldn't normally go to and see if you find anything that resonates there, and let yourself just take that out of it. Because that's the true test of truth. If someone's telling me what I want to hear, what I already think, I go, of course that's true. But if someone is from a place I'm not from and thinks a thing I don't think and talks the way I don't talk and does things I don't do and then says something that I go, oh, that feels true, then you kind of really know that it's true because it cut through all that other stuff that you think you know. So there you go. Dunkin Donuts should have donuts all the time, and I got a live record coming out on Friday. Beyond that, I don't know much. I hope you guys are doing well, and I appreciate you being here, and we'll talk soon. Bye.